You good?
Still waiting for it to launch over here, but yes.
All right. What's up, nerds? It's Paul here at Radio Free Hammer Hall. Today we are doing a deep dive into the Skaven Tide and looking at things from the perspective of the Skaven clans, breaking it all down by clan so we can examine all of the synergies in this beautiful book we have here. Thought it would be a nice little change of pace from some of the stuff that I've been working on. There's a lot of Skaven players out there that want to take a little bit more of an in-depth look at things, I think. So it is a good time, and I have been working on a little bit of Skaven painting lately myself. I just picked up a Verminlord Warbringer that I've been starting to throw some paint on. And of course, as I often do, I've got Dez here joining me, who is another Skaven Claw Lord himself. What's up, buddy?
What's going on? I've been working on a lot of Skaven myself. I've been doing, reading the book a little bit, working on making some Jezzails, working on Thankful and Bone Crusher. I've been in Skaven mode.
Nice. So, so general feelings right now, before we get started, about where Skaven sort of sit in Age of Sigmar.
It's a little tough to gauge. I've played. It's probably been a year since I've actually gotten to play a game of Age of Sigmar, so it's kind of tough to gauge that. But I definitely say they're probably upper fat middle. In the right hands, it could be a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like they're capable of taking down events, but they're not going to do it regularly.
Mm-hmm.
In the last GHB changes, dropping some points, that definitely helped a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Getting cheaper Storm Vermin, that was so good.
Storm Vermin. Storm Vermin.
Yep. So I'm definitely going to be, I've been working on my Nurgle for quite a while. Skaven's my next project. I don't know how much more Skaven I'm going to be buying. But I got the Warbringer and definitely want to bring my Storm Vermin up to 40. I have 20 right now.
Yep. I've already got 40 painted, ready to hit the table. I just, as soon as they released those new sculpts, which was now, 13 years ago. 13 years ago. Yeah. I love them. Couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to build them and paint them and put them in my armies. I've had them around forever, and I love them as you've seen on the tabletop many times to your chagrin.
Yep, I have had those shoved down my throat way too many times. All right. Anyway, shall we get into this thing?
Let's do it.
All right. I gotta switch over tabs so I can actually look at everything here, because I do not have the good fortune of being on multiple monitors right now. I'm on the wrong page and everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we have our general allegiance abilities that are available to everybody that I just want to go over real quick. Lead from the back. Basically, Lookout Sir also applies in melee.
Fun.
Yeah, like that just protects your heroes so much.
That's a super good rule and a super Skaven rule too.
It is. It's important to note too. Like, we'll probably bring this up more later, but like your Screaming Bell and your Plague Furnace are both not monsters, and they're heroes, so that they still get Lookout Sir and Lead from the back applying to them, even though they are rather large models.
I don't think I've ever, in all of my Skaven games with this book, had a Screaming Bell die. I don't think I've ever seen a Screaming Bell die.
Yeah, they're so durable, and like they can just with our next rule, scurry away. They can just run away whenever you get into trouble.
Yep.
So instead of making a pile in an attack, you can retreat with your Skaven heroes when you activate them.
Yeah, that's a fun rule. With like claw lords and stuff like that, like charging, take off later on, grab an objective somewhere that your opponent wasn't expecting you to get. Very fun rule.
Yeah, definitely very powerful. And it's all Skaven heroes, so you can do that with like Vermin Lords.
Yep.
So just for kind of the information of everybody watching here, we're not going to go in depth on the war scrolls themselves. We're kind of going with the assumption that you guys kind of are informed about the army, you know, in general, what things are, what things do, and we're going to go more in depth on how to use all of these different synergies and maybe point out some things that you guys haven't seen before. We are going to look at the units, but it's not going to be a real deep dive on the war scrolls. All right. Our other teachings of the Horned Rat: overwhelming mass. You get +1 to hit in melee if you have 20 or more models in a unit, and you get +1 to wound if you have 30 or more models in the unit.
Love it.
Yep, that used to be on the individual war scrolls, and now it's just everything.
Yep.
Which is also interesting. It makes all of the Skaven stuff better in the Skaven book because it's not hanging out on the war scroll.
Mm-hmm.
Like this used to be on Plague Monks, and now since it got moved to an Allegiance ability instead of a War Scroll ability, Plague Monks are not as good in other armies.
Yep. If you are playing Skaven, that makes it great for things like clan rats. I mean, They picked a few wounds off things they had no business being in fights with, and Storm Vermin, of course.
Yeah. Storm Vermin, which are just blenders.
Yep.
And then strength in numbers. Instead of +1 bravery for every 10 models, you get +2 bravery. You're not going to take many battle shock tests with this army, so that doesn't come up a lot.
And if you do, you've lost so many models, you're probably out of luck anyway.
Yeah. The goal with the Skaven army is to never roll a battle shock test.
Mm-hmm.
And do everything you can to avoid that.
Yep. Screaming bells everywhere.
Yep. Screaming bells and Vermin Lord Warp Seers and just command points for inspiring presence if you need to.
Yep. Snow gravel ropes. Yep. There's lots of ways to avoid it, and we can take numbers, so it's really, really good.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with Masterclan. Our Masterclan ability is each of your friendly Masterclan models, when they use a command ability, roll a die on a 5-up, you get a command point back.
I like it.
Yeah. Definitely really strong. And it's worth noting here, though, that there's not a lot of good command abilities out of Masterclan. But if you use, this is for any command ability. So if you use like at the double or inspiring presence or whatever the reroll charge one is.
Into the fray. I forget too.
Yeah. Whatever that is. You can still get that back on them. So that I think is probably the most common use. And then your Vermin Lord Vermin Lord Warp Seer, using his Battle Shock immunity ability, would also do that. But other than that, Screaming Bell doesn't have command ability. Your Grey Seer doesn't have a command ability. Your Thankful on Bone Ripper doesn't have a good command ability.
I'm trying to remember what his command ability is offhand.
You get to use the 3 generic command abilities for free.
Yeah, it's situational.
Yeah, very situational. Um, so let's take a look next. Skip on down here to our command traits for Masterclan. Now, on all of these command traits, there's 3 generic ones that are in every clan. So you have Malevolent, rerolling 1s to wound for attacks made by melee weapons by this general. Verminus Valor passes off wounds to a nearby unit on a 4-up.
Good stuff.
And Savage Overlord, add 1 to the bravery characteristic of friendly Skaven Tide units while they're wholly within 18 inches of the general. Verminus Valor can be good.
Yes, can be really good.
Yeah, especially since the FAQ that made ward saves not stack.
Yep.
This definitely gained a lot more usability. But still, I'm not overly excited about it.
I love it. I've used it to great results many times. I love it personally.
What do you like to use it on?
Screaming Bell, of course. It's already being pushed by 40 clan rats usually.
Yeah. So it's just one more way to keep your Screaming Bell alive.
Which you want. Yep.
Love it.
All
right. Then what else we have? Supreme Manipulator. You can re-roll the dice that determines your 1 extra command point when you use the Skilled Manipulator's battle trait. So you're 5-up getting command point back. You can re-roll. Yeah, that's a very meh one. Not terrible, though. Master of Magic, +1 to cast and dispel and unbind.
Yes, please, on top of Nahul's.
Yeah. That is definitely a really good one. Great to put on your Vermin Lord Warp Seer to get
Warp Gale.
The dreaded Warp Gale down to, I think, does it usually go off on an 8?
Yep, 8. So it'd be a 7 with this. If you're on top of a Nahul, it's a 6.
Yeah, so it's suddenly reasonable to cast.
Mm-hmm. It's a good spell.
It is. And then we got Cunning. After the battle has started, roll a die each time your opponent receives a command point. On a 6, you receive that command point instead of them.
This is... I wouldn't take it normally, but it's probably fun for a little NPE experience. If your opponent's got that clutch command ability they're trying to get off and you pope a nope it.
Yeah. I mean, there's some armies that this is better against than others. Like if you're up against Slanesh or if you're up against Grotz, this is like fantastic.
Yep.
You're up against Ossiarch Bone Reapers, this does nothing.
Yeah. Stupid Bone Reapers.
Yeah. So out of this list, it definitely seems like Master of Magic's the winner.
That's usually what I take. And if I'm taking Corey likes my shirt, of course. Yeah, it's definitely what I'm taking if I'm taking a Warp Seer as my general for sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's zoom on down to our artifacts. All right. Our Relics of Ruin. The Warpstone Scroll, once per battle in your hero phase, the bearer can use the scroll. If they do so, roll 1 die. For each enemy unit within 13 inches of the bearer, on a 4+, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
I kind of like that one. I'm never taking it, but I kind of like
it. Suspicious Stone gives you a 5-up ward save, which, let's just run this down real quick. You can't put it on Thankful. You can't put it on Lord Screech. You don't need it on the Screaming Bell because it already has a 5-up ward save. You don't need it on Verminlord Warbringer or Warp Seer because it already has a 5-up ward save. So your only Masterclan hero that can actually take this and have it do something is your Grey Seer on foot.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So thanks to all of this stuff no longer stacking, your unkillable Warp Seer is not quite as unkillable anymore.
It's hurtful.
Yeah. It just makes me feel bad. Like, not that thing needed to be more unkillable. Like, I think I've lost one once.
Yeah, almost never. Yeah, very few times.
Yeah, he just hangs out in the back and buffs stuff.
Yeah, he's not a damage machine by any means.
Yeah. The Gnaw Shard. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons if any of the wounds inflicted by that weapon aren't allocated to an enemy model and not negated. The model suffers 1 mortal wound at the end of each battle round. The wounds inflicted by the Gnaw Shard are subsequently healed. So it's just giving him extra mortal wounds for the rest of the game.
And it's only one, on one model or one unit. Or it's all right. It'd be more fun if it was each turn.
Yes.
Now we need to get turned up a little bit.
Yeah. The Skaven Brew. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Skaven Tide unit within 3 inches of the bearer. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, but you can add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by that unit until your next hero phase.
All right. I love this.
How much do you love this?
I love this one a lot.
This has Dez written all over
it. Yep, when you've got 40 Storm Vermin, and you've got Death Frenzy, and you've got Dreaded Death Frenzy, and you've got Skaven Brew, maybe you've got a Warp Dust Invigorator. You can set up Storm Vermin. So what was it? Hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, -1 rend, 4 attacks each. But because if they die and they've got Death Frenzy and Dreaded Death Frenzy, that's
right.
That's 8 attacks each Storm Vermin that dies.
Yeah. So they're potentially each Storm Vermin is potentially getting 12 attacks in a turn.
Yep.
But that's only for that one turn.
Yeah, one turn, but the Hearthguard Berserkers are dead. Please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of fun stuff in this book that gives you one really good turn.
Yep. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah. The Snout Grovel Robes do not take battle shock tests for friendly Skaven Tide units while they are wholly within 13 inches of the bearer. If we kind of do the math back again, like we did with the Suspicious Stone, that basically just goes on your Grey Seer on foot.
Yep, because you got the command ability on the Warp Seer. Yep.
Yeah. Doesn't mean I would never take it, though. That's definitely solid.
But I like to think that, and it's always on, and you don't have to burn a command point for it. And the Warp Seer has a huge base. So you're actually getting a lot of mileage out of that, a lot of board coverage. If you've got a Screaming Bell or 2 on the board as well, you've got a really good area to not suffer battle shock in.
Yeah. Battle shock should always be optional for Skaven. If you're taking battle shock tests, you're either doing something weird or you're doing it wrong.
Or you're losing. Yep. Yeah.
You're probably losing if you're taking battle shock tests.
Mm-hmm. Shouldn't be a phase. Yep.
Yeah. We skipped that phase. Staff of Rightful Supremacy. Subtract 1 from the casting rolls of enemy wizards while they're within 13 inches of the bearer. In addition, once per battle, you can dispel 1 endless spell within 13 inches of the caster. If you do so, you don't have to roll d6. The spell automatically is successful.
I like the auto dispel. I hate that it's within 13 inches because you're probably going to put this on something that doesn't want to be close to other wizards or on the other side of the board. to actually use that.
Yeah, I'm curious about how they expect us to get said wizard over there.
How do you get that 6+ save Grace Seer? I mean, you can get him over there, but not last.
Obviously.
Yep.
All right, and more scrolling down now that we got the artifacts. Going to talk about the spell lore since it's essentially kind of the Masterclan spell lore.
I don't like that FAQ.
What FAQ?
I don't like that you can't choose spells with the Vermin Lords anymore.
Yeah.
The Grey Seer can on Screaming Bell, and the Grey Seer on foot can. But if I recall, I don't think any of the other ones can.
Thankful can.
Yeah, maybe Thankful can.
Yeah, he can. He's a Grey Seer.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? Yeah, Laura Ruin. There it is, right there.
Yeah, so this is just for your Grey Seers. It hurts me to no end that your Vermin Lords just can't take anything from spell lore. Like, yeah. That bothers me. I don't like it.
I did like Skitter Leap a lot. I actually used to take it. I took it on my Grey Seer on Bell a lot because he was fun to like cast it on other things around him just to pop over to the side of the board along with the gnaw holes.
Yeah. So real quick, going through this, Scorch has a casting value of 5. Pick an enemy unit within 13 inches. Roll a number of dice equal to your casting roll for each 6. It suffers 1 mortal wound. There are a lot better ways to get mortal wounds on stuff than that. Yeah, like if you roll boxcars, on average, you're going to do 2 mortal wounds with that. Like that is like just cast Arcane Bolt.
Yeah. Yep. That's pretty terrible.
Yeah. Splinter has a casting value of 6. Pick 1 enemy model within 6 inches of the caster. Roll a die. If the roll is greater than that model's wound characteristic, the model is slain.
I kind of like this one. It's very situational. It's awesome for taking out command. You know, you don't want that unit of pink horrors coming back with their battle shock test. You just take out the icon bearer.
Right. Situationally good. But yep. I mean, there's other spells in here that are just so much better.
I agree.
That it just overshadows that. Skitter Leap is just a teleport for your heroes with a wounds characteristic of 12 or less. That's within 13 inches of the caster, remove from the battlefield, set it up again on the battlefield more than 9 inches from enemy units. And then it can't move in the movement phase.
Awesome for getting objectives, distracting units you don't want coming across the board into going after some other hero, so they're not wrecking their backlines. It's really good. I like it.
Yeah, my favorite trick with Skitter Leap is to Skitter Leap a wizard next to a gnaw hole, then use that wizard to cast Warp Lightning Vortex onto your opponent's front line, and then use the gnaw hole in the movement phase to get him back out.
Indeed. Yep, that's the fun stuff, because then he's not stuck there. Yep.
Yeah, then he's not stuck with his pants down in the middle of the battlefield. He can just zip back with the gnaw hole.
Yep, there's nothing anybody can do about it either. Can't be... I mean, Skitter Leap can be dispelled, but you going back to that gnaw hole is just bye-bye.
Yeah.
My lift's here. I'm out.
Yeah. Plague has a casting value of 7. Pick an enemy unit within 13 inches. Roll a die for each model in that unit. Note, it is not models within 13 inches. It's just pick a unit within 13 minutes and count up the models in that unit. For every 5+, that unit suffers a mortal wound.
That's pretty good with hordes.
Yeah. That's if you're in a meta that is very horde heavy, that is a great spell.
Yep.
If you're up against like Caradron overlords or ogres, that is a terrible spell.
Yep. Yeah, that's you got caught with your pants down spell sometimes. Yep.
Yeah. I think that's like the big reason that I wouldn't play it is just that unless the meta is so heavy in hordes, like there's just too many situations where it's just not going to do much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Death Frenzy has a casting value of 7. Pick a friendly Skaven Tide unit that is not a hero, wholly within 13 inches of the caster. Until your next hero phase, when a model from that unit is slain, before it's removed from play, it can make a pile and move and attack with all of the melee weapons it is armed with.
This is funny. For me personally, after the FAQ went up and the Storm Vermin points went down, this spell went up in value exponentially.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was good before. It wasn't a bad choice, but I would take Skitter Leap over it. And now, depending on the army, I'm probably bringing Vermintide most of the time.
Yep.
This is the first spell I'm picking.
Yep. And then our last one is Warp Gale. Has a casting value of 8. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 26 inches of the caster and visible to them. It suffers D3 mortal wounds, and any run or charge rolls for that unit are halved until your next hero phase. If the unit can fly, it cannot fly until your next hero phase, in addition to having its roll and charge rolls, or your run and charge rolls.
That's another really good one. And I don't know if I would pick it if I had a Warp Seer, if I would pick it again. But it's a good spell.
Yeah. It's anytime you debuff your opponent's movement, it's really powerful.
That's awful to yeah.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, like, if you watched the Warhammer Weekly NPE survey episode, like, people don't seem to mind having their movement debuffed.
I do not like.
That only tells me that they have not had their movement debuffed very much.
Yeah,
that sucks real bad. Especially when you do this to a unit that's stuck in a warp lightning vortex.
So good.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the real winners here: Skitter Leap, Death Frenzy, and Warp Gale.
Yep, no doubt.
And I feel like I usually want to run probably 2 wizards, like 2 Grey Seers. Like probably one on foot and one on a Screaming Bell, or 2 Screaming Bells.
I love 2 Screaming Bells.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yep.
But yeah, that's I think the way I've been leaning lately, I think Death Frenzy is my first pick.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, like I said, as soon as that points decrease came out for the Storm Vermin.
Yeah. I mean, it's even good on Clan Rats.
It is good on Clan. I've played with it on Clan Rats before, and they've surprised people just plinking wounds off stuff. Yep.
Yeah, Clan Rats can do work when you need to. So let's skip over to our War Scrolls. Thankful on Bone Ripper. He's interesting. He can do. You were just building this guy.
I'm just building this. I played with him when the book first came out, and he was just with 4 warp fire throwers, and he was just murdering units. He's pretty good in that aspect, and I'm into him again.
Yeah, I think the 10-inch move with the 8-inch range on the warp fire projectors, that really gets him into a place where he can actually use the warp fire projectors effectively.
Yep. And
with 4 of the things, he can just burn units down.
That's how I was using it, and it was just removing, Well, you have a unit of, I forget what it was. It was ogres or stormcast. They're just gone. Gone.
Yeah.
Some 3-wound unit that somebody brought a ton of, and it just warp fired them right off the table. It's fun.
Yeah.
It was a feel bad experience for the other players, so I stopped playing Thankful as much. It was an NPE.
Yeah. Let's see. His spell is not that exciting.
Depends on the hero you're taking over. If it goes off, it's not that exciting. It's situational.
Right.
But using people's heroes to murder especially if they're buffed up, to murder their own units. Imagine Gotrek.
Yeah. That's true.
I kind of like it.
And his command ability. His command ability is just getting more command abilities for free, but the generic ones. And it has to be 3 different heroes.
Yeah. He's probably casting it on himself in playtesting and just being ridiculous.
Yeah.
We had 3 different heroes, but there's no range on it, so it could be anywhere on the board.
Yes. That it is good because it's board wide. All right, here's an interesting one that I have never really given like a ton of thought to. Lord Screech Vermin King.
Me too. I think I read this scroll when it came out a few times, and I just had no interest.
Yeah. The fact that he has like the 13-headed one ability where you get these abilities like a bunch of once per game abilities that you have to choose from, and a lot of them aren't that good.
Yeah.
Add 1 to casting and unbinding rolls for this model. That would be great if you had access to a spell lore, which you don't. The spell he does have, the Dreaded 13th, casts on an 8. Pick an enemy within 13 inches of the caster. Roll 13 dice. For each 4+, they suffer a mortal wound. And you can summon 1 unit of clan rats to the battlefield and add it to your army. The summoning unit can have up to 1 model for each wound that was inflicted by this spell. The summoned unit must be set up wholly within 13 inches of the caster and more than 9 inches away from enemy units. And this summoned unit cannot move in the following movement phase.
Could be neat for setting up some brand new chaff units. Could be neat for landing on objectives if it goes off.
Yeah, if it happens. It goes off on an 8.
Yeah.
So, and he's unique, so he can't take the command trait that gives him +1 to cast. So he's relying on that 1 turn with the knowledge of the arcane and a gnaw hole.
Yep.
But the spell only has 13-inch range, so your odds of being next to a gnaw hole and within 13 inches of something are not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heal D3 wounds, doing mortal wounds on 6s to hit. Subtract 1 from hit rolls that target this model. Doomglaive has a rend characteristic of 3 instead of 1. That's okay.
I feel like the Doomglaive with a -1 rend, it needs a -2.
It does. On all of them, it needs a -2. And his command ability, you can use his command ability at the start of your combat phase. If you do so, you can re-roll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by friendly Skaven units while they're wholly within 13 inches of a friendly model with this command ability. Wow, is that terrible?
Unless you're looking at your wonderful storm vermin that you've just buffed up to hell and back, and all of a sudden they can't lose. Hitting on twos, re-rolling those. It's situational, but it could be cute where you set up a can't lose situation. Re-rolling 1s to hit, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s on wounds, but you're wounding on 2s. You got Death Frenzy on them. You've got Dreaded Death Frenzy on them. Vigor Dust Injector. All the bells.
Ultimately, it's all about stacking all the buffs.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to use that command point on reroll wounds of 1, or do you want to National on their bones?
would have gnashing on their bones all the time, every time.
Yep.
It was just something that popped into my head when you read it just now.
Yeah.
Eh,
Let's see.
Yeah.
Scrolling down to our next one. Not the Corruptor.
Warp Seer.
Yeah, Warp Seer. So this guy is super good. 4-up rerollable save. All he's got for melee is that Doomglaive.
Oh,
So he is not doing much in combat.
always disappointed.
His spell is Dreaded Warp Gale, though, which is the same as Warp Gale, except it does D6 mortal wounds instead of D3.
So you double up on the Warp Gale if you're bringing the Endless spell that just left my brain.
The Warp Lightning Vortex?
Lightning Vortex, yeah. So you double up on your Warp Gales.
Yeah. His command ability is really good. 26-inch bubble of ignoring battle shock.
I like that.
And then he's got his Skryre orb that he can throw at people for D6 mortal wounds once per game, and then you lose your re-rolling saves.
You don't want to do that often unless it's time to die.
Right. That's like the last ditch effort. Like, you know he's going down, and you just pitch the Skryre orb. Like, what's funny is that, like, this is one of the most popular Vermin Lords to take.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because I almost feel like he's actually not that worth it.
I think he's worth it for 3. I don't know. I still like it, even at 320 points.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just looking at the army at a different angle than I have been in the past. I'm like, you know, this guy's all about preventing battle shock and stopping your opponent from moving. Like, and then he's like a big anvil.
Yep.
I'm not sure that is the kind of Skaven I want to be playing. There's plenty of other Vermin Lords that are more fun. All right. Greyseer on Screaming Bell.
Yes.
Has to be pushed into battle.
That's a big weakness. That can be. Once you start disappearing, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I've gotten this thing stuck so many times.
Stuck.
But this also does have the 5-up ward save. And your Peel of Doom, which, it's like, it's really random, but really good.
Yeah, they did a really good job with this, making it so that you don't, like last edition, there was a bunch of stuff that sucked and you didn't really care. You didn't really care about the Peel of Doom at all, for the most part. But
right,
they got it right this time. It's really fun.
Yeah, I mean, rolling a 7, that's your most common roll, and it's +1 to casting rolls for all of your wizards.
Yep, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Nothing, I think. I think it was nothing on a 7, which sucked. And number 12. I can't tell you. If you have one, you have a pretty good chance of bringing in a Vermin Lord Deceiver.
Yeah.
Which is what I usually choose each game. I don't know. I think I brought one in almost every game. You put 2 on the board.
Yeah.
More.
I have actually done this once, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
What made it even better was that it was a game against Slanesh, and it like almost brought me back.
Oh, nice.
His spell on those War Scrolls not bad either. Crack's Call.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be noted here too, like all of these guys are double casters.
Yeah, that's you can like go toe to toe with Tzeentch, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you have a great quantity of magic. You don't have tremendous quality of magic.
Yeah, and sometimes you're not out of stuff to cast.
Yeah. Yeah. That is for sure running out of stuff to cast. So Crack's Call goes off on a 6. Pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster invisible to them. Roll 2d6. If the roll is greater than the unit's move characteristic, that unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the difference between the move characteristic and the roll. The spell has no effect if that unit can fly.
It's It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's real good against like dwarves.
Yeah, I was gonna say Fire Slayers don't like it. Slanesh might not anymore.
Yeah, it depends on the army you're playing against how good that is.
Yep.
But if you get a lucky roll on that, man, is it good?
Yep.
But the big thing on this is that you have a 13-inch bubble around this where your Skaven are immune to battle shock.
I love it. The altar of the horned rat.
I like because of between that and the Peel of Doom, I just like I have one of these in like every single list.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think I've ever built a list without one.
I've built many lists with two.
Yep. There's Skryre lists, maybe pure Skryre lists. I haven't built in it, but I love the Screaming Bell. One of my favorites.
Oh yeah, and we'll get to the possibility of pure Skryre lists eventually here too. All right, and our last one is the Gray Seer. So he's just your normal schmo on foot, but he can, for one spell in each of your hero phases, he can roll 3d6, drop the lowest for his casting. So that brings it to an average of about 9 for his casting roll. But if he rolls a 13 on the 3d6, the spell is cast, it can't be unbound, and then he dies.
Yep. You can cast this on every spell. You said it for only one spell, but how many spells does he get?
Yeah, once in each of your hero phases when this model...
Oh, sorry, I missed the one. Yep.
And then his spell is really good. It goes off on a 7, 13-inch range. If the roll is greater than the wounds characteristic, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds and subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by melee weapons by that unit until your next hero phase. Like rolling 2d6 to get over their wounds characteristic is not hard most of the time.
No, even against ogres.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like it's hard to do this to a monster, but for like a group of troops, this is like auto hit.
And who doesn't?
Yeah. In D3 mortal wounds plus -1 to hit.
Yep.
Like that's really good. Man, like every time I read stuff in this book and like reread things, I'm like, oh man, I wish I could fit that in this list.
Yep.
It's like when this book first came out, like everything was really undercosted. And there, like you could just put all of the toys in one list, and now you have to pick and choose because they increase the points on everything. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, I want this trick, but that means I have to sacrifice this other trick, and it's just not fun.
Tricks, right? That's what
makes all the tricks.
You have so many tricks. That's what I love.
Yeah.
Movement shenanigans, damage shenanigans, magic shenanigans. They got them all. Of course, it blows up in their face, and that's part of the fun too.
Yep, that is true. So that is it for the Masterclan. So let's flip on over back to our allegiance abilities. That was probably too far. Yep. Not too far, though. All right. Let's see. I don't want to go in the order that's here. Or we could go over... You know what? Let's go over Moulder and Eshin real quick and not talk about the units.
Sure.
So Moulder, at the start of the first battle round, before determining which player has the first turn, you can pick one friendly Clans Moulder fighting beast model for each master Moulder in your army. The same fighting beast cannot be picked more than once. Add D3 to the wounds characteristic of each of those models. In addition, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by melee weapons by those models.
Nice on a abomination.
That's kind of terrible.
Mm. Yeah, it's not. It is not great.
Yeah, that is not good. That is the opposite of good.
if you're taking ogres or something like that, I mean, it's all right.
Yeah.
It would be ridiculous. Yeah, per model would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Imagine giant rats running around with 3 wounds each. I mean, they don't have
Yeah, it's just picking one model and adding wounds to it, which is dumb. Like, they could have done so many better things with Moulder, and that was just not good. For Eshin, if your army includes any Eshin heroes at the start of your first battle round, before determining the player who's starting the first turn, pick one enemy hero for each clan Eshin hero in your army. You can re-roll wound rolls for attacks made by friendly clan Eshin units that target those enemy heroes in that battle. So you pick a hero to assassinate, and you can roll wounds against it.
I guess it kind of makes sense fluff-wise, but it's not very good. It's all right. Well, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a nice little bonus for your Verminlord Deceiver, who is Clan Eshin.
Yep.
You know, his spell is really good. Dreaded Skitter Leap, getting in 6 inches away from an enemy.
I love that.
And it's not just in melee. So his throwing star thing also gets to reroll wounds. So that's not terrible.
Yep. Gutter runners and night runners have them as well. So they're all in mass.
And let's go down here. That's Masterclan. There's Skryre, Pestilence, Verminus. All right, Moulder command traits. Just skip over the first 3 because they're the same for everybody. Moulder Supreme, when you use a prized creations battle trait, pick one friendly clan Moulder Fighting Beast model. For this general, you can either add 3 to the model's wounds characteristic instead of D3, or add D6 to that model's wound characteristic instead of D3.
Would have made the regular allegiance ability a little bit better.
Yeah.
The allegiance ability.
Yeah. Like, this is making something terrible slightly less terrible.
Yep.
Horde Master, when you use Unleash More Beasts command ability, that's the command ability on the Master Moulder. You receive a new unit on a roll of 4+ instead of 5+.
Makes that much better.
It does.
And there's no limit on turns, if I recall. So if you lose your rat ogres on the first turn for whatever reason, you can roll all the way through the game, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. And then they phoned in number 6, add 1 to the general wound characteristic.
Nice. I think the rest of these are lame. Check this one out.
Yeah. You want to know how much we don't care about Clan Moulder? All right. And then Clan Eshin. You can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by the general that target the enemy hero chosen for the Master of Murder battle trait.
Doubling up on hits and wounds is good, but I feel like that should be built in for assassins. For the assassin, at least.
Yeah. Shadow Master, this general is within 1 inch of a terrain feature. This general is not visible to enemy models while they are more than 6 inches away.
All of a sudden, that's on a deceiver.
Yeah, I mean, it can let you hide stuff, but it's not that exciting. Incredible agility. This general can fly.
No,
that would be awesome if you had something to put him on that was like worth flying, because your Verminlord Deceiver is skitter leaping around, so this really only goes on like an assassin.
He can hop over chaff lines and get at that juicy, Fire Slayer hero you're trying to kill, so they don't have that lodge ability anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but the assassin doesn't have very strong melee stats.
It's not too bad, especially I don't know.
You know what? Let's settle this real quick. let's look at the Assassin War Scroll, just so that we have no question here on how bad this thing actually is and how much we need to just ignore Clan Eshin. It's like all the way at the back of the book, I think.
Yeah, it's way down. It's,
oh, that's Moulder. Still Moulder. Yes, the Death Master.
okay. It isn't bad. Okay.
Yeah, 7-inch move, 4-up save, has a total of 10 attacks. His 7 attack profile has no rend. His Weeping Blades have rend 1 d3 damage. He can run and shoot in the same turn. If the unmodified hit roll for attacks made with his throwing stars is a 6 and inflicts 2 mortal wounds, or 2 hits on the target instead of 1. And you can hide him in another unit and have him pop up later.
There's no limit on how far away it can be from enemies, right? In that rule,
he can pop up directly into combat.
So you throw a unit of Night Runners out there, speed up as fast as they can. He pops out, flies over the chaff wall, kills a hero. If he's rerolling his 3s to hit and his 3s to wound. And he's got the Weeping Blades. I think he's killing heroes. Then he dies. But for 100 points, it's a nice missile.
Yeah. I'm not sold on it as a thing I'd do.
Unfortunately, I'm not either.
like it's a neat trick.
Yep.
If you can do it. I mean, maybe you team him up with a Vermin Lord Deceiver and Skitterleap him in.
Yeah, he'd probably be better, but then I worry about B side. That could be good. Yes, and he's got the -3 rend. So I mean, I think he hits on 3s and 2s as well, off the top of my head, and -3 rend and D3 damage. I mean, he's really murdering heroes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I just wish there was better stuff for
Eshin's my favorite clan. I really wish they weren't terrible.
Yeah, I mean, they had such a great opportunity to make Eshin artifacts that would just be like murder machines, and they didn't do it.
Nope, they failed completely. Yep.
All right, so Clan Moulder artifacts real quick. Lash of Fangs, pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. The unmodified hit roll of the attack is a 6. It inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to normal damage. Foul Hide, in your hero phase, you can heal D3 wounds allocated to the bearer. That would be great if it was on something that wasn't like a Packmaster.
Yeah. What is he, a 6 with 5 wounds, or these terrible?
Yeah, something stupid. He's not going to survive long enough to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Snap Trap Snare Pole. Start of the combat phase, pick one enemy model within 3 inches of the bearer, subtract 1 from hit rolls made by that model in the combat phase. Yay.
An enemy model. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
These are
one enemy model. No, thank you. Rat Tail Snake. If the unmodified save roll for an attack that targets the bearer is 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all the attacks have been resolved.
Save rolls, you're dead. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, a lot of these artifacts would be good if there were good Moulder heroes.
Yeah. An armor save to speak of. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like if we had some decent Moulder heroes, this would be great. If we had a Moulder Vermin Lord, this would be fantastic.
Yep.
But we don't.
We're sad people.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah, reroll wound rolls for attacks made by Clan Moulder pack units while they're wholly within 13 inches of the bearer. Now that's starting to talk about something.
Yep. Now you're driving down the board with 3 Hell Pit Abominations, if you can make it down the board.
Yeah. Or even rat ogres are perfectly good to do this with too. And the other interesting thing that just popped into my head about this is not saying melee.
Oh, so the rat ogre's guns will work too. I don't think this works.
I'm not thinking about rat ogres.
About storm, I don't think it works.
It does.
Does it?
It does, because storm fiends have the Moulder keyword.
Indeed, they do. What was it? I was reading. There's some like combo that would have been great. Hey, if it looks like it works. There's some combo that looked like it would be great, but it didn't work on Storm Fiends for some reason. Hey, cool if it works. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, it's cute. I'm not sure I'm going to do that, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the little things to remember about Clan Moulder is that you can buff up your as well.
So they have the Clan Moulder keyword, but they don't have the Clan's Moulder pack keyword.
Oh, that's why it doesn't work.
Something in there. Dan pointed it out. Yep. Dan,
so never mind. Still sucks. Flesh gift vial once per battle in your shooting phase. I already don't like this. You can pick one enemy unit within 6 inches of the bearer and roll a die. On a 1, the bearer suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 2 to 5, the bearer suffers D3 mortal wounds. And on a 6, that unit suffers D6 mortal wounds. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Pass.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's it on Moulder and Eshin. Let's get back to talking about real clans.
Oh, poor Eshin. I love you.
Oh, wait, you know what? We didn't talk about Eshin artifacts. We skipped over Eshin artifacts.
Oh, yeah, there's some good ones in there, too, actually. Some interesting ones. I won't say good. I'll say interesting ones.
Yeah, the annoying thing to me about Eshin artifacts is that they're, like, all once per game.
Yeah.
It would be so nice if these were, like, combat-oriented to get your Deathmaster or your Vermin Lord Deceiver to actually do something more.
I think something that should be right on the scroll for the Deathmaster is that fights first. He should always fight first. He's an assassin. He's jumping out of shadows. He's got the jump on you. He should stab you first.
Yeah.
A very battle crap.
Very good basic rewrite to that scroll. Yep. All right. Shadow Magnet Trinket. Once per battle, the bearer can fight at the start of the combat phase. Before the player picks any other units, fight in that phase. The bearer cannot fight again in the combat phase, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. That's what I was just talking about. It shouldn't be an artifact. It should be built in.
Yeah. Man, I feel like that goes on a Deathmaster.
Yep.
So that he can pop out and go kill.
Yep.
Before he dies.
Mm-hmm. He will die.
Far Skitter Cloak. Once per battle, at the end of your movement phase, you can remove the bearer from the battlefield and set them up again anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from enemy units.
Once per battle.
Yeah.
For like grabbing an objective once, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know how good that actually is. I don't really like that. Once per battle at the start of your shooting phase, pick one enemy hero within 6 inches of the bearer, roll 3 dice. If all 3 dice are 3 plus the combined value of the 3 dice is greater than the enemy's wound characteristic, the enemy model is slain.
Very good chance of that going off. Once per battle.
Yeah. I mean, that will totally just gank 5 wound heroes.
Yep. But yeah, that's your target anyway. Yeah. I don't know.
So, I mean, that's something that is... It's at the start of your shooting phase, too, which is really weird. So, it's 6 inches, and dreaded skitter leap makes you more than 6 inches away from the enemy. So you can't dreaded skitter leap and then 3 fangs.
Yep.
You have to
Pop
get
out.
in there and 3 fangs.
Yep. But I mean, if you have multiple targets, I guess it's all right.
Well, it still doesn't work because you have to be 6 inches away from everybody.
Well, not with the skitter leap, I meant in general.
Yeah.
Gives you the option if you're in that 6-inch range where you can, if you have 2 heroes you want to take out, you 3 fangs one and then punch the other one in the face.
Yeah. All right. War Weep Stars. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. If the unmodified wound roll for an attack made by the weapon is a 6, it inflicts a D3 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage. That's the only one that's not once per game.
Yeah. And if you're re-rolling, you could fish for those 6s.
Yeah. The problem is that the Deathmaster, his throwing stars hit on a 5.
And that's all of them. That's, I don't know.
Yeah. It's painful.
Hit on 4s and wound on 5s. They wound on 5s, right? You said hit. That's all. Yeah, they hit on 4s and wound on 5s, I'm pretty sure.
No, I think it's the other way around.
Maybe. Now I'm all mixed up.
Hold on. Yeah, Deathmatch. Oh, no, you're right. 4s and 5s.
Which is poison weapons. I mean, and that's another like war scroll thing. Fine, I wound on 5s, cool, but all my weapons are poisoned because I'm Clan Eshin, and that's what we do. Let me re-roll it.
Right.
Poison built in.
All right. Cube of Mists. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can pick one enemy unit within 6 inches of the bearer. That unit cannot make a pile-in move in the combat phase. In addition, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit in that combat phase.
That could be good.
I mean,
it could.
It could be good. Screwing with pile-ins can be conditionally good. And, I mean, it doesn't matter that this is once per battle because I don't think this is going to come up more than once per battle where it's useful.
Yep. You can set yourself, but it's probably more work than it's worth to use that once a game Cube of Mists. Just,
yeah. And then the Gnaw Bomb. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can pick one terrain feature within 6 inches of the bearer until your next hero phase. That terrain feature has the scenery rules from the Gnawhole War Scroll in addition to the scenery rules it already has. So you can just turn something into a Gnawhole for 1 turn.
Yeah. And I might be remembering it correctly. Can't you only use the Gnawholes once per turn?
Yes.
It gives you an extra place to go or flee from.
Right.
Screws up the rest of your battle plan, potentially.
Right. But gains all of the scenery rules for an Gnawhole, so it also becomes arcane.
I forgot about that. That's a bonus.
Yep.
If you have the Deceiver doing that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, I think that's about it on Moulder and Eshin now. Unless you want to look at any of the particular war scrolls. I mean, they're mostly bad.
No, they make me sad.
Yeah.
They missed the mark with Eshin big time.
Yeah, and Moulder is like everything either needs to hit harder or have better defense.
It'd probably hit harder is the way to go with them. Right.
I definitely agree. Let's see. Verminus.
Yeah, Verminus. I was just kidding. I love Verminus.
Oh, you know what? Real quick before we move on. Battalions. Because all the battalions are broken up by clan.
Yeah, it makes me sad that there weren't mega battalions for every clan, but whatever.
Yeah. The Flesh Meld Menagerie. Master Moulder 0 to 3 Hell Pit Abominations, 1 to 3 Pack Masters, 1 to 4 units of Rat Swarms or Giant Rats, and 1 to 4 units of Rat Ogres. When the Master Moulder from this battalion uses its Unleash More Beast command ability for unit in the same battalion that's been destroyed, the new unit is added to your army on a roll of 4+ instead of 5+, which is the same thing one of the artifacts does.
It is indeed, yep. But if you have more than one Master Moulder, does it give you more than one roll?
Yeah. And then our Slink Talion, a Death Master, 1 to 4 units of Gutter Runners, 2 to 8 units of Night Runners. If the Death Master from this battalion is set up in hiding as a reserve unit in the combat phase in which it is set up on the battlefield, you can re-roll hit rolls for attacks made by units from the same battalion.
That's all hit rolls, no matter where they are against anything.
Yes.
Kind of need that, too. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if Gunner Runners and Night Runners were better.
Yeah, if they don't, yeah, they're not good at all.
Yeah, if those weren't trash. All right. So, getting back to real clans, Clan Verminus. When you pick a command trait, you can pick 1 command trait for up to 6 friendly Claw Lords in addition to 1 command trait for your general if your general is not a Claw Lord. You must pick a different command trait for each Claw Lord that has a command trait, and no model can have more than 1 command trait. You can use the command trait for that Claw Lord even though they are not your general.
Now, I could be wrong on this. This is something I noticed, and it could be in the FAQ and I missed it, but it says Claw Lord. You must pick a different command trait for each Claw Lord. It doesn't say your general can't be Masterclan. It'd have the same command ability as one of the Claw Lords. Just a little trick I saw on there that could be interesting if you're trying to pile on the Verminus Valor onto your general and onto your Screaming Bell.
Yep. Or if you want Brutal Fury twice.
Or if you want Brutal Fury twice, but it can't be a Claw Lord. Yep. So that could be, that's it. I thought that was a fun little trick.
So heading back down to our Verminus command traits. These are all in different orders all the time.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Treacherous Tactics you're looking for.
There we go. Treacherous Tactics. So the Brutal Fury that we have been talking about, once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can add 3 to the attacks characteristic of this general's melee weapons. Note, melee weapons, all of them, until the end of that phase.
So this could be fun with the Skaven Brew. This is also fun on Claw Lords because they, on their War Scroll, get +1 attack for each wound they've taken. So you've got a cornered rat, and you pop Brutal Fury on them. They're actually pretty dangerous at that point. They can murder stuff.
Yeah. Powerful, a.k.a. phoned-in command trait, +1 to wound, or +1 wound characteristic.
Lame.
And then Devious Adversary. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a melee weapon that targets the general is a 1, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the general's melee weapons until the end of that phase. That's interesting. That is interesting because that can go on a Vermin Lord Warbringer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, more claw attacks, more punch attacks.
Yeah. And it's like you just throw them into battle, and for every 1 your opponent rolls, you get +1 attack. And his damage profile doesn't really get that much worse.
Holy crap. It's not limited to at the end, after damage is dealt, or at the end of the phase, or, after damage is dealt. Yeah, you're right. That stacks.
Yeah, that stacks like crazy.
Oh, I didn't read it that way before. That's dangerous. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, on a Claw Lord, that's terrible. On a Vermin Lord Warbringer, that's flipping amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hit rolls. It's not how much damage it does.
No.
Like run that into something that just throws a lot of attacks, and all of a sudden he's super powered.
Yep. Yeah, let them go first. Holy crap, that could be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big spike fist, Dan is right.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is just delete target unit.
Oh, I'm starting to sweat. That's awesome. I like that. I think I just put a Warbringer in my eBay cart. Actually, I've got an extra thankful now, so maybe he's my new Warbringer conversion.
Yeah, there you go.
Holy crap! Did you notice that before? Or did you just think about that when you were reading it?
I just thought about when I was reading it. I didn't notice that one before.
The unmodified hit roll for an attack, not any attacks, an attack. That's all right. That's great. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I definitely did not think of that before. All right, artifacts. The Thing's Bane. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons, add 1 to its damage characteristic. Again, we can throw that on the Doomglaive on the Warbringer, and suddenly he's a lot more deadly. Especially when you're stacking more attacks on him.
Oh my god.
Yeah, now this just makes me want to like run lists that are like Vermin Lord Warbringer Death Stars.
How to make friends. Yeah, this is the how to make friends. Oh, I like it a lot.
Like, and I feel like nobody can get mad at you for taking a Vermin Lord Warbringer and just like buffing him to high heavens and sending him at your opponent. Like, that's not going to make anybody mad.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking through the. I don't see anything in the FAQ about this. Think cool.
Like, it's too good to be true. I can't have that.
Yeah, this is not right. This is. All
right. Reroll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target the bearer. In addition, at the start of the combat phase, pick one enemy model within 3 inches of the bearer. Subtract 1 from hit rolls made by melee weapons that target in the combat phase. That's kind of boring.
I like that. That's good for that. That if you make the Claw Lord, if you give this to a Claw Lord that's babysitting your Storm Vermin by the bell, I like it. He won't die.
Yep. Screech Skull trophy. Subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units while they're within 13 inches of the bearer.
Never taken that one. Never.
Yeah. Yawn.
Yeah. That'll be +1 wound again. Yeah, I don't see an FAQ about that.
Yeah, that's a good find.
Oh god, I'm gonna do it. I have to.
Yeah, I'm glad I bought one.
How fun that is it that we've both been reading this book so much and just that never dawned on us until right now.
You know what it was? Is it took me a long time. It took me until like a month ago to like think about putting command traits and artifacts on a Vermin Lord Warbringer.
Because I just bypassed him too. I looked at his war scroll. I was like, nah.
Yeah, like nah, he's not that exciting.
Whoops.
All right, what else we have? Flay Pelt Cloak. You can re-roll hit and wound rolls of 1 for attacks made with melee weapons by the bearer. That's actually not terrible.
Oh.
Thing's Bane is better though.
Yeah.
Rust Crusted Armor. Reroll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target the bearer. In addition, at the start of your combat phase, you can pick one enemy hero with an artifact of power within 3 inches of the bearer. Roll 3d6. If the roll is exactly 13, that artifact of power can no longer be used. If a weapon was picked when the artifact of power was selected, that weapon reverts to normal.
I'm never taking that.
Yeah. It's like randomly maybe make an artifact go away. Nah. And then the Warpstone Charm. At the start of your hero phase, pick one unit within 3 inches of the bearer and roll a die on a 2 through 5. The unit suffers mortal wound. On a 6, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. Not that exciting. So we're putting Thingsbane on a Warbringer? Is that what we decided we're doing here?
Yeah, we're putting Thingsbane on a Warbringer. Yeah. He's gonna just devious adversary everybody's day away.
Yeah. Whoops. I think I'm going in the wrong direction for the battalion. I actually really like the battalion for Clan Verminus. And it's really like, it's not that exciting. But
I like it.
Yeah. It's an inexpensive battalion. It's a Claw Lord in your battle line, basically.
Yeah, yes.
And then your Claw Lords gnashing on their bones is a 13-inch butthole instead of one unit wholly within 13.
Yep. All of them.
Like, totally worth it. You get an extra command point. You get an extra artifact. You decrease your drops. It's all your battle line in one drop.
Yep. I like it.
It's basically all stuff you're going to take anyway.
Any Verminus list I've played, it's always had the Claw Horde deck. Yep.
I think it's just solid. Like give us more battalions like this, please.
All right. Hold on. Let's back up here for a second. Just for 1 second. I want to back up 1 second. Artifacts of power. So Shield of Distraction. Dan just pointed something out, so I'm just trying to see if actually Shield of Distraction is better with it. I just need to read the wording again. It's unmodified hit roll, yeah. Yeah, Shield of Distraction would have been nice if it was any roll of a 1, because it gives Shield of Distraction gives -1 to hit roll, so it'd be 1s and 2s, giving you +1 attack for devious adversary. But it's unmodified hit rolls of 1. I could really turn it up with that. Does not work though. Would have been fun.
Yep. All right. So Vermin Lord Warbringer. He is clearly the star of the show, as we have been discussing.
Yep. All of a sudden.
Yeah. 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1d3 damage. Spike Fist, 1 attack, 3s, and starting on 2s and decreasing on the profile. Rend to 2 damage, but it turns into 6 damage if you roll a 6 to hit. The trick is all of the things that you can give him to give him more attacks to roll crazy amounts of Spike Fists.
Yep. Oh my god.
Yep.
Oh my god.
And let's see. His command ability, pick one friendly model, re-roll hits and wounds of 1 for friendly clans Verminus while they're wholly within 13 inches of that model. So, yeah, he just bubbles out re-roll hits and wounds of 1.
Yeah, which is nice, especially for clan rats that aren't really going to be hitting most of the time once they get rid of a little bit.
Yeah, but if he's hanging out next to Storm Vermin.
No, he's awesome.
Yeah. Like, that's actually not a bad command ability. Like, if you have extra command points hanging around.
Yep, and especially if, like we were talking about before, if you've got them buffed up to high heaven and they're hitting and wounding on 2s, and they're re-rolling those 1s, they're impossible to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah. And then Dreaded Death Frenzy is just Death Frenzy, except you pick D3 units to be frenzied instead of 1.
Yeah.
My one gripe with this is that I don't like it that it's variable. I just wish that it was like 3.
Yeah.
And I feel like 3 wouldn't have been broken. What do you think?
I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah. Would it be broken? D3 plus 1. How's that? D3 plus 1 I'd be happy with.
Yeah. Yeah, because casting Dreaded Death Frenzy and having it just being 1 sucks.
Yep. It does. You just put on your Storm Vermin, though. You're still good.
Yeah. So I think we've mentioned this before in passing, but Death Frenzy from the Grey Seer lore and this Dreaded Death Frenzy, if you put them both on the same unit, they stack. So when models die, they pile in an attack twice. And that is in the FAQ that they do that.
Storm Vermin. 2+ rerolling 1s. 2+ rerolling 1s. -1 rend, 1 damage.
Or it's great on Plague Monks because they freaking love to die.
Yep. Clan Rats love to die too.
Yes, they do. But they're not as good at attacking as Plague Monks are.
Very true.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like the Vermin Lord Warbringer is this, like, diamond in the rough that, like, I just, like, glossed over for a long time. And I'm like,
And you brought him up earlier this week, and I was like, yeah, he can be kind of good. But that command ability?
Yep. Yeah, put it all together, and he is very good. And he's only 280 points. He's like the cheapest Vermin Lord.
Oh, he's going on the board.
Yep.
That Thankful is definitely getting converted into a Warbringer. I've got an extra glaive, too. Oh, boy. Yep.
Yeah, I have extra bits for all the things if you need them.
Dan said he's Bitcoin in 2015. Yes.
Let's see.
I'm so sweaty thinking about that. I like never sweat, but now I'm thinking about the Warbringer and the damage she can bring to the table. It's craziness. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, I hate the way all of the stuff in this book is ordered. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, it's nothing's in order. Nothing's in the proper order.
All right.
118.
Yeah. Claw Lord. National on their bones. Just +1 attack command ability for Verminus units.
Love it.
Yeah, like totally not bad. And then Cornered Fury, he gets +1 attack for every wound he's taken.
I like that too. And his weapon is good. The Warpforged Blade. 3 attack, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, D3 damage. It's not bad for a 100-point model.
Yeah, and then if you're in the Verminus Claw Pack, Gnash on their bones when he uses that will affect himself.
Yep. And then if he's got some wounds on him, got that. Yeah, oh, he could do a couple 2-3 damage. He could be pretty good.
Yeah. And if you're not bringing the Warbringer and you put the Brutal Fury on him, since you're getting a free command trait for him anyway.
Yep.
Then he can just be a nice little like damage spike once per game. You run in there, and
I think I talked about this before. That's where you know, if you take an extra Claw Lord just to zoom around the table, get in and out of combats the whole time. You know, he's bouncing in and out of combats and just making a nuisance of things. With Brutal Fury, a lot of fun.
Yep. Skryre Spike Claw and Spike Claw Swarm. This is interesting because he just has National on their bones. He is just a Claw Lord. Except there are always more. At the start of your hero phase, if this model is within 13 inches of Spike Claw's Swarm, you can return D3 slain models to that unit.
Yeah, that's pretty good for something that's sitting in cover on an objective somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure how many points it is, though. That's the...
I think they're 140. And But Spike Claw Swarm is only 4 models.
Yeah, 140. Yep. Yeah, that's the tough part. And they're on a 6-up save.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna die.
But they have a 5-up ward save.
Makes them a little bit better. So one of the fun things about Skryre is he's got a 2-inch halberd as opposed to Call Lord's 1-inch Forged Blade. Which, I don't know. I feel like he should have a Claw Lord should have a 2-inch reach too, but whatever. Whatever. It's a halberd.
Yeah. Clan Rats, I mean, not super exciting. They've got a 5-up save with their shields. +2 to run. Spears versus blades. I mean, I built all mine with spears.
I built all mine with spears too. Yep.
Yeah, they're like if you're going to run a huge pack of them, you're going to get so many more attacks in with the 2-inch reach on the spears.
Yep. So here's how I win games with Clan Rats. The standard bearer. Because for 1 in every 20 models in this unit could be a Clan Rat standard bearer. This unit can retreat and still charge later in the same turn, while it includes any Clan Rat standard bearers. Nobody is expecting you to charge your Clan Rats and then swing around into their backfield.
Right.
Well, people are, but I mean it's a wonderful option.
Yes, for sure. And then Storm Vermin.
Yes.
They have the same retreat and charge ability. Same +1 to save on their shields. 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, rend 1 damage for 100 points for 10.
Yeah. I think I've already mentioned it a million times how you could buff these dudes up to high heaven.
Yeah. There's just so many synergies that make these guys good.
And they were kind of iffy before until they got that points drop.
Yeah. They needed their points dropped badly. And they got their points dropped a lot.
Yep.
All right. So that is Clan Verminus, which is like my new favorite clan.
Yeah, I always love Clan. We've been playing games for years, and I almost always bring the Verminus. Because I can't believe that. I love Clan Eshin. Why you suck? But the other clan I like to bring sometimes, and usually at the big tournaments, is
Clan Skryre.
Yep.
So Warpstone Sparks, you get D3 +3 Warpstone Sparks at the beginning of the game. You can't use more than 1 per phase. And you have 3 options of things to do with those. In your hero phase, you can pick a wizard and re-roll casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for that wizard until the end of that phase. And then at the end of the phase, roll a die. On a 1, the wizard suffers D3 mortal wounds. Next one, in your shooting phase, pick 1 Clan Skryre hero, then pick up to 3 friendly Clan Skryre heroes that are wholly within 13 inches of the hero, and you can add 1 to the damage characteristic of missile weapons used by those units until the end of that phase. At the end of that phase, roll a die. On a 1, the hero suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Gazelles. Skryre hero, sorry.
Disagree. Skryre acolytes all day.
Yes, yeah, acolytes too, yep.
Yeah. As we will see when we get to things, I will explain to you why Skryre acolytes are the best unit in this book.
They really are awesome.
Yeah. And the last one in the combat phase, you can pick a Skryre hero, reroll hit rolls until the end of that phase. On the end of the phase, roll a die. On a 1, suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Nobody needs to read that. You never need to know that. You know,
yeah.
Maybe damn it. I don't know. The Warlock used to have way more attacks. Then it would have been better, but he doesn't anymore.
Yeah. So just for bringing back the old school math hammer for a minute, the Clan Skryre wizards getting a reroll to cast they still get the modifiers from like arcane terrain and things like that with their rerolls. So that actually makes them the best wizards in this army.
Yep.
It's better than the 3d6 drop the lowest that the Grey Seer has. You get a higher average with like +1 in a reroll. So,
and one of the nice is Warp Lightning on their War Scroll. You can cast it unlimited amount of times.
Yes. And then this using Warpstone Sparks to add damage to your missile weapons is just outrageous. You do so much damage with that.
I love those Warpstone Sparks.
Yeah.
I got another fun idea for them later on. Hopefully I remember. Where are we going next? Command abilities?
Yeah, command traits.
Traits, sorry.
Yep. Let's see. There are some good ones in here.
Yeah.
Masterful Scavenger. Add 2 to the number of Warpstone Sparks you get during the battle.
Love that.
Yeah. Deranged Inventor. At the start of your shooting phase, you can pick one friendly clan Skryre unit that's wholly within 13 inches of the general, and you can re-roll hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by that unit until the end of the phase.
I love that it's clan Skryre. So yeah, that's good. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, not much besides clan Skryre shoots. So
exactly.
And then Overseer of Destruction, you can pick up to 3 friendly weapons teams wholly within 13 inches and reroll hit rolls made by those units until the end of the phase.
Maybe with rattling guns. The other 2 just outweigh this one. If you're taking rattling guns, maybe.
Yeah. 3 rattling guns would be a lot of fun, though.
It would be, yep. Especially if you take them with Giselles. Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Let's see. Artifacts of Power.
Dark Inventions, page 73.
There we go. Dark Inventions. All right. This is where the real fun begins. The Brass Orb. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can roll a die. On a 6, closest enemy model within 6 inches of the bearer is slain. If several models are equally close, you can pick one.
Yeah, once per battle, if you roll a 6, you kill the closest enemy model.
Yep.
So whenever you're reading these artifacts, it goes directly to number 2.
Yep.
1. You can just erase that out of your book.
Yeah. Warpstone Armor. Roll a die each time a wound inflicted by a melee weapon is allocated to the bearer and not negated. On a 5-up, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound. That would be great if you didn't have a bunch of 5-wound heroes in Clan Skryre.
You don't want to be in combat. That's another one. Maybe we can skip directly to number 3 when you're reading your artifacts from now on.
All right. Esoteric Warp Resonator. At the start of each battle round, you receive 1 extra Warpstone Spark. If the bearer is on the battlefield, the Warpstone Spark can only be used to perform Warpstone Spark abilities with the bearer in that battle round. If it's not used before the end of the battle round, it is lost.
I like that one. I like it a lot. I've used it many times. It's fun.
Yes. But I believe, depending on how that... Does that mean you can only use it for your reroll casting? Can you use it for...
You can use it for anything because it's until the end of the battle round. So it's not even until the end of your turn. You can use it in your opponent's turn.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it can only be used to perform Warpstone Spark ability with the bearer. Well, I guess it's always all of the Warpstone Spark abilities are coming from a hero.
Yep.
So yeah. So you just get a free Warpstone Spark every turn.
Yep.
Definitely really good.
I like it.
Skryre's Breath Bellows. At the start of your hero phase, the bearer can pump the bellows. If they do so, roll the die for each unit other than the bearer that is within 3 inches of the bearer. On a 4+, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
You're going to take this if you really love Arch Warlocks and you want them to do more damage.
Yes.
That's it. Next. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's just much better.
Yeah. Vial the Fulminator. At the start of your movement phase, you can pick one friendly clan Skryre war machine unit within 3 inches of the bearer. Double that unit's move characteristic until the end of that phase. At the end of that phase, roll a die. On a 4+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. No. So this really, instead of saying clan Skryre war machine, this should just say Doomwheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this is let your Doomwheel do something silly.
Yeah, yeah. Lose D3 wounds for something stupid. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah. Then the Vigor Dust Injector, possibly the best artifact in this book.
Yep.
In your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Skaven Tide unit wholly within 12 inches of the bearer. Just a quick note, why is that 12 inches and not 13?
Typo. Weird. I had a typo in a GW book. Weird.
Unbelievable. Add 1 to charge rolls and hit rolls for that unit until your next hero phase. However, at the start of your next hero phase, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
That's in hit rolls, including shooting.
Yep.
Storm Fiends. Made for Storm Fiends.
Also really good on Skryre Acolytes, although taking out D3 Skryre Acolytes kind of sucks.
It hurts, yeah. Unless you have
they just delete shit.
Yeah.
And then we have the lore of Warp Volt Galvanism. If I can.
I love that name.
Here we go. All right. Lore of Warp Volt Galvanism. More warp power. Goes off on a 7. Pick one friendly clan Skryre unit within 12 inches of the caster and visible to them. You can re-roll hit and wound rolls for that unit until your next hero phase. However, at the end of your next hero phase, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah. This is where the Acolytes come into play.
Yeah. This plus Vigor Dust Injector on Acolytes, plus a Warpstone Spark. They're like re-rolling hits and wounds. They're +1 to hit, +2 to hit if they're targeting a unit that has 10 or more models. And they're rend 2 D3 +1 damage.
Yep.
And then they take 2d3 mortal wounds on the next turn.
That's probably worth it when you've deleted multiple units with them.
Yeah.
So hitting out of 2 and wounding out of 3, that's
yeah. I took a unit of 20 of these once and threw it up against a unit of 60 Stabas and deleted the unit.
I can't recall anything as fun as that, but I know as soon as I point those Acolytes buffed up like this at anything, it's gone. It's just deleted unit. Yep.
Let's see. Chain Warp Lightning, casting value of 6. Pick up to D6 different enemy units within 18 inches of the caster. Each one of those units suffers 1 mortal wound.
Ooh, 1 more.
Yeah, really not super exciting. Warp Lightning Shield has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast until your next hero phase, the next 3 wounds allocated to the caster in each phase is negated. If a 4th wound is allocated to the caster in the same phase, the caster suffers D6 mortal wounds, and this spell is unbound.
So, I have one word for you. Warpstone Sparks.
Yeah, this saves your ass from all of your Warpstone Sparks.
Yep. Yeah, so technically, if this spell goes off, you'll never take damage from those Warpstone Sparks on your engineer, and you can just keep casting those Warpstone Sparks on everything.
Yeah. but that means that wizard does not have more warp power.
Well, that's why you take 2. They're small. They're waffle thin.
All right. Are you ready for the most complicated battalion ever? So, the Warpcog Convocation. It is 1 Arch Warlock and then 2 to 5 Engine Covens in any combination. And each Engine Coven has its own points cost. So these function like this functions like a mega battalion, like a battalion with battalions in it. Except you only get 1 command point and artifact for it instead of the 3 that I really wish you did get.
I was going to say the same thing. Yep.
And I always part of me really wants to try and make a list with this work. So you take 1 Arch Warlock for the thing overall. All of the Engine Covens require 1 Warlock Engineer or Bombardier. Arch Spark Voltic, also 1 to 3 Warp Lightning Cannons. Goutfire Scorch, 1 to 4 Storm Fiends, 1 to 5 Warp Fire Throwers, and 1 to 5 Warp Grinders. Gas Cloud Chokelung, 1 to 3 units of Storm Fiends, 2 to 5 units of Skryre Acolytes. If you're running a Skryre only list, that one is interesting because that's your battle line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's your battle line right there. It's always the default choice.
Yeah.
Sucks, but
then the Rattle Gauge Warplock, 1 to 3 Storm Fiends, 1 to 3 units of Jezzails, 1 to 5 Rattling Guns. And the Whirlbraid Threshick, 1 to 3 units of Storm Fiends, 1 to 3 Doom Wheels, 1 to 5 Doom Flayers. Now let's take a look at what these things actually do.
Okay.
Arch Spark Voltic, in your shooting phase, you can pick 1 Warp Lightning Cannon from the Engine Coven. If you do so, subtract 1 from the power of that Warp Lightning Cannon's Lightning Blast to a minimum of 1. So that basically just improves all of your Warp Lightning shots.
Yep.
Gas Cloud Chokelung, you reroll hits of 1 for attacks made by this Engine Coven Skryre Acolytes, Storm Fiends with Wind Launchers, while they're within 13 inches of the Warlock Engineer. The Goutfire Scorch, up to 2 units can join the Warp Grinder from this Engine Coven instead of 1, as long as the units come from the same Engine Coven as the Warp Grinder that they are tunneling with. Rattle Gauge Warplock, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made with missile weapons by this Engine Coven's Warplock, Jezzails, and Rattling Guns, while they're wholly within 13 inches of the Warlock Engineer from this Engine Coven or the Arch Warlock from the same battalion. And then our last one, you can move a unit from this Engine Coven an extra 3 inches when it starts to move wholly within 13 inches of the Warlock Engineer from this Engine Coven or the Arch Warlock from the same battalion. Okay. Gas Cloud Chokelung and Rattle Gauge Warplock, they're just reroll hits of 1.
I like them. All right. I mean, if you have to take these, those are probably the 2 best ones if you want to put bodies down. Right. If you're only taking 2.
Yeah. I mean, the Gas Cloud Chokelung is the one that's just sporting your battle line.
Yep.
The Rattle Gauge Warplock is pretty good for just the things that are in it. The Goutfire Scorch, I just don't see myself using Warp Grinders.
Yay, Warp Grinders taking in those 8-inch range warp fire throwers over 9 inches away from enemy units.
Yeah.
They pop over there, they sit there. They're nice moving charge range with their 6-up saves. Just seems like a waste.
Yeah. And the Whirlblade Threshick is just plus 3 inches to move. I mean, I guess that's okay if you're trying to make a Doomwheel army work.
Yeah, that's fun for a Doomwheel army, but
yeah. Archspark Voltic is just ridiculous.
I like it. My only concern is it's super points intensive. That's my only concern with it. Other than that, I love it. People do not like it when you roll a 1 for a Warp Lightning Cannon for its power, and you're like, all right, you're just going to take mortal wounds. Hold on a second here. I'm going to roll 12 dice. I'm not going to bother, actually. It's just 12 mortal wounds.
Yeah. But you still have to roll them for because all of your ones do mortal wounds back to you.
Yep. Oh, it's fun.
Yeah. It is fun, though, when you overcharge it and you roll a 1 on your power and you just do 12 mortal wounds to something.
Yep.
But reasonably, you could go like Archspark, Voltic, Gas Cloud, Chokelung, Rattle Gauge, Warp Lock, and have that be your entire army in 1 drop.
Yep. I had fun making Skryre list, just Gas Cloud, Chokelung, and Rattle Gauge, Warp Lock, and I think it was all 1 drop.
Yeah.
And very shooty. I had the Acolytes in there, I had the Jezzails in there. 1 Rattling Gun, Tax.
Yep. I mean, I don't think Rattling Guns are attacks.
Oh, yeah, they're all right. They're all right. I've never had success with them, we'll say.
Uh-oh. My dog just discovered that my cat is in the cat tree and all hell is about to break loose. And the cat tree is right there. So I'm going to attempt to keep them quiet. I don't know how well that's going to go. This is actually kind of hilarious. Let's see. You know, I opened up 3 different tabs with this book in it just to, be easier, quicker to flip through, and it didn't help.
See, I've got a PDF open where it's got an index and I can just zip around pretty fast.
Yeah, that's the thing that I really should do is just this PDF does have like the linked stuff in it, and I really should just be using that. Okay, so our Arch Warlock is our good wizard. He's a double caster. He has an extra wound. He has an extra save. He has really crappy attack profile.
God, this makes me sad. He used to be my favorite model before this book. He was in every list. Start with the Arch Warlock.
Yeah. I mean, he's still really good.
Yeah, his abilities, what he does for the army is really good. But
yeah. Being a Skryre double caster is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his spell is decent, goes off on a 7, does D3 mortal wounds, can jump to another unit and do more mortal wounds.
But if it fails,
it does D3 times D6 mortal wounds to himself, which will almost certainly kill him.
Yep, he's fun. I like him.
Yeah. Warlock Engineer is just a miniature version of the Arch Warlock. He's a 5-up save and 5 wounds. He has very similar spell. Single cast wizard.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, just keep thinking about how much fun it would be to make it like a Warlock Engineer heavy Warp Lightning army. I wonder if that'd ever do anything fun. Good. It would be fun, but it would do anything.
Yeah.
Good.
There's always a difference between fun and good in Age of Sigmar.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that are really fun. And then your Warlock Bombardier, which is exactly the same as the Warlock Engineer, except he has a Doom Rocket instead of a pistol.
Doom Rocket can be fun.
Yeah. Storm Fiends, another nice complicated war scroll. Just in case anybody was hoping that this army would be simple somewhere.
Nope.
So
these guys are great. People like them.
Yeah, can you hear my dog going crazy in the background? By the way.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I'm not sure I can really do anything about this because if I put it in the crate, he is just going to be very upset, and my cat is trapped. So,
you need a rat. A rat.
Yeah. Anyway, Storm Fiends. These guys are pretty awesome. I like them a lot. Without going line by line through this giant, crazy war scroll, I mean, I think the build that most people seem to run is rattling cannons and wind launchers.
Yep.
And then either what is it, Doomflayer gauntlets or Grinder Fist? Is that the last one?
Yep, Doomflayer or Shock Gauntlets. I can't decide which one I like better.
Yeah, I think I have mine built with Doomflayers.
Yeah, they do probably do the most damage. Grinder Fists are consistent and give you the extra ability of being able to deep strike, but it's random on which turn you come in, which sucks.
Yeah, and the Grinder Fists, you have to replace your rattling cannons, which are like the best weapon on these guys. 3d6 shots is so good.
Yep.
Especially when you can spend a Warpstone Spark and make it 2 damage, and more warp power to make it reroll hits and wounds, and Vigor Dust Injector to get +1 to hit.
Yep, and then they have 6 wounds, so they don't care about taking the D3 mortal wounds afterwards.
Yeah, and your melee guy has 7 wounds.
Yeah, so just give them to the melee guy.
Yeah, you have 7 wounds to burn through before you touch anything you care about.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the wind launcher is like not super exciting, but your alternative is not that good. What is it? Yeah, warp fire projectors is your other alternative to wind launchers, which are great crowd control, but
if you're getting them, if you got them all fitted for melee, I guess they're good because you're going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
But you're probably not outfitted for melee. You're probably going to stay back and shoot.
Yep. What's nice is that these guys have enough range that you don't have to worry about moving them up the board. You can just send them through a gnaw hole.
Yeah, exactly. The Grinder Fists, once again.
Yeah, or you can go with the Grinder. Well, but if you go with the Grinder Fist, you don't get the rattling cannons, which is the thing you really want to go blast in their face.
Right.
Unless you run a unit of 6 and you do 1 rattling cannon and 1 Grinder Fist.
Which, I mean, if you want to stack your buffs, is not a bad idea.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's options.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't you remember when you could take any combination of anything and it wasn't like the first one is this or this and the second one is that or that?
Do you remember how many friends I made when I showed up with deep striking before the range 6 warp fire throwers? I didn't have a lot of friends then.
Yeah, that was.
I wasn't making friends.
Yeah, warp lightning cannons. These are just sexy.
Yep.
I don't know. I like these a lot. I like that they just are rolled to do mortal wounds.
I love it, and I love the look of them. But I more specifically, I love the old ones. And I think you always jab me a little bit for bringing the old models. I like them better than the new ones.
Well, I mean, I jab you because you don't even have them on bases.
I do have them on bases.
Now.
They've been on bases forever. I think since our first game we've ever played, they've been on bases.
They're not on the right size bases.
Probably not on the right size bases, but they're on bases. They're round bases. I think I've rebased them before. No, yeah, I've probably rebased them before we had proper base sizing charts in Age of Sigmar. So I think they're slightly off, but not enough to make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, they're on the chariot base, so it's a real big base. But yeah, being able to increase this thing to 12 dice is just so good.
Yep.
Yeah. It's always a toss-up for me between these guys and Giselles for your range support. You basically need an engineer to babysit them, but you need an engineer to babysit your Giselles to use the Warpstone Sparks too.
Engineers are just the babysitters of the whole army.
Yeah. I mean, really, a lot of your heroes in this army are babysitting units.
Yeah. There's a lot of babysitting going on.
Yeah. Skryre Acolytes. These guys are so good. They move 6. They have an 8-inch range on their Poison Wind Globes. They can run and shoot. So they have a total of a 22-inch threat range. +1 to hit if the unit they're targeting has 10 or more models. +1 to hit if they have the Vigor Dust Injector. Rerolling hits and wounds with more warp power. D3 damage at Rend 2. D3 +1 with a Warpstone Spark. And you get a unit of 20 of these guys for 200 points.
Die.
I feel like every one of my lists starts with 20 of these guys.
Yep. That's a bad way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the downside to these is that the Games Workshop model for these are hella expensive, but there are lots of alternatives, lots of ways to convert stuff.
I already have a bunch of them, and I just use clan rats and a little bit of green stuff and tubes and bits and parts and made a unit of 20. It's fun.
Yeah. Let's see what else we have. Doom Wheels. Doom Wheels are the thing that like you just want to be good but isn't.
You make me sad.
Yeah, I know.
For Doom Wheel list. You kind of have to use more warp bolts every turn. Yep.
And you're risking doing 2d6 damage to yourself.
Which is a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage. But again, like if you throw all of the buffs on it, it's doing 2d6 attacks at 2 to hit, 3 to wound, re-rolling hits and wounds, rend 1, d3 +1 damage. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it can run over stuff.
The running over stuff is the fun part.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's probably somebody out there that has mastered these things and just runs tables with them.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some way to make these good.
I definitely have at least 4 Doom Wheels. I never just see too much. I see way more downside than upside with them.
Yeah. Warplock Giselles. These guys are so good. When they don't move, they reroll hits.
That's awesome because they hit on
4s and 3s rend 2 damage. When they roll a 6 to hit, they do 2 mortal wounds instead. Like, these guys are real good.
And then you give them their beautiful buffs.
Yeah, give them all the buffs, and like they're just so deadly.
Yep.
But still, like, I still like Warp Lightning Cannons. But these guys have a 30-inch range instead of a 24-inch range.
Sometimes size matters.
Sometimes size does matter. But the Warp Lightning Cannon's bigger.
That's true. I find myself sometimes they Warp Lightning Cannons only move 3 inches, if I recall.
Yeah.
So that's kind of sucks. But then it's only a 4-inch difference between these. And you don't want to move the Giselles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the tough thing, is that the Giselles are really trapped in place the whole game. And, I mean, your warp lightning cannons can move, but they're not moving far.
They're not going far at all.
Yeah. Rattling guns. Now, these guys are like 60 points for one, and they are a hell of a lot of fun to throw through a gnaw hole on the first turn. And more warp lead, double the attack's characteristic of the attack. But if you roll a double, the model is just slain after all the attacks are resolved.
Worth it for a little murder if they can do it, if they're buffed.
Yeah. So, but let's just do the math on this real quick. 2d6 times 2 attacks. So you're averaging 14 shots. Vigor Dust Injector puts you on 3s to hit. More warp power is re-rolling hits and wounds. And a Warpstone Spark makes that 2 damage.
Yep. The Warpstone Spark is really...
I do not care if this thing dies on the first turn.
Yep.
If I get all those buffs off on it and drop it through a gnaw hole and delete something, that was the best 60 points I've ever spent.
Yep. The only trouble is you're not buffing up something else in that point with all those wonderful.
Yeah, but there's plenty. There's just like, there's time.
Yeah.
like he uses those things on another turn and it's fine. Warp fire throwers. I mean, what do we say about warp fire throwers?
They will deal crap loads of damage. I like them still. I don't take them as much as I used to, but they'll still do crap loads of damage. 14-inch range, it's not bad. Deals the amount of wounds it has in 8 inches to each model. And a 4 up, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And it's 2 dice if you do more warp fire.
Yeah, I feel like it's just hard to get these into position to do a lot of damage.
That's the trick. The 8-inch range is what kills it, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't drop it in anymore like you used to be able to back in the old days.
Back in my day. How bad are Doomflayers?
Who?
Exactly.
They were okay when they first came out. This steadily got worse.
And the Warp Grinder weapons team?
Cute to let you deep strike. That's about all it's good for.
Yeah.
4+ to hit, 3 to wound, 2 to rend, 2 to damage. Because once it gets whatever it's getting there, it's useless.
Yeah. And it's like 80 points.
It's like 80 points. It's useless after it gets something somewhere.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
All right. So that's it for Clan Skryre.
Yeah. So in essence, Clan Skryre has crap loads of ways to buff stuff up and do an insane amount of damage, but you're gonna be hurting for bodies.
Yes. And all of your bodies are not going to take a punch.
Nope.
All right, so we are on to our final Clan's Pestilence. We have Echoes of the Great Plagues. If the unmodified prayer roll chanted by a friendly Clan's Pestilence priest is a 6, you can pick one of the following Great Plagues to manifest. In addition to the effect of the prayer, each Great Plague can only manifest once per battle, and no more than one Great Plague can manifest per turn. All right, so Bubonic Blight Plague. If it manifests, pick the nearest enemy unit within 13 inches of the priest chanting the prayer, so it's possible this does nothing at all. The unit is infected with the Bubonic Blight Plague. If several enemy units are equally close, you can pick the one infected. The infected unit suffers D6 mortal wounds. If the infected unit is destroyed by the mortal wounds, you can pick another enemy unit within 6 inches of the last model to be slain from the infected unit, and the new unit suffers D3 mortal wounds if the second unit is destroyed, and then another enemy unit within 6 inches, blah, 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 blah.
This is way more fun when it just bounced on a die roll instead of having to kill a unit. Because units are going to kill on D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, that's not very good. The Crimson Curse, if the Great Plague manifests, pick the nearest enemy unit within 13 inches of the priest chanting the prayer. That unit is infected with the Crimson Wheel Curse. If several enemy units are equally close, blah, 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 the infected unit suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition, at the start of each of your hero phases, the infected unit and each enemy unit within 1 inch of the infected unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Kind of lame.
It's a dot. It's a damage over time. Plink, plink, plink.
Yeah. Red Maw Plague. If it manifests, pick an nearest enemy hero within 13 inches. That hero is infected with the plague. If it's within 3 inches of any other models from its own army at the start of any combat phase and is not within 3 inches of any models from your army, then you can treat that hero as a friendly model until the end of that combat phase. I don't even know what that means.
Super situational way of controlling a hero. It's not great.
Yeah. The Never Plague, you can re-roll prayer rolls for friendly clan Pestilence priests for the rest of the battle. I feel like that's the go-to one that you're going to automatically take.
Yep, first one you pick.
Yep. And then the Undulant Scourge, roll 1 die for each model in the unit. If several enemy units are closer, blah, 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 for each 5 up, it suffers 1 mortal wound. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now, it's sad that there is no prayer lore in here for your plague priests. That's definitely a disappointment for me.
Yeah, just have these.
All right, so let's look at command traits. Master of Rot and Ruin, you can reroll the dice that determines if the prayer chanted is answered. Architect of Death, you can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by missile weapons by friendly clan Pestilence units while they're only within 18 inches of the general. So that's your Plague Claw catapults.
That's it. Yep, pretty much.
And then Diseased, at the start of your hero phase, roll a die. This general's within 3 inches of enemy units. On a 4+, inflict D3 mortal wounds on 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of the general. Not that good.
It's just okay. And on a 4+,
yeah, I feel like you want to take Master of Rot and Ruin and always get those rerolls.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Ignore them all except for that one.
Yep. And then artifacts.
74. Befouled Boons.
All right. Blade of Corruption. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. You can reroll wound rolls for attacks made with that weapon, which is kind of stupid because your plague priests are terrible. They're not meant for combat. Foul Pendant. The bearer can attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase in the same manner as a wizard.
If you're going pure clan Pestilence, this could be key at some point.
Yeah, this would be not terrible if you're going straight Pestilence. Brooding Blade. Hit one of the bearer's melee weapons at the end of the combat phase. Roll a die for each model wounded by this weapon but not slain. On a 2+, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. You don't want your plague priests in combat.
Yep.
At the start of your combat phase, pick an enemy unit within 6 inches of the bearer and roll a die. On a 2+, it suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 5+, it suffers D3 mortal wounds instead. Kind of boring. Add 2 inches to the bearer's move characteristic. In addition, you can reroll hits for attacks made by the bearer starting in the second battle round. At the start of your hero phase, if there are any other friendly clan Pestilence heroes within 13 inches of the bearer, you must transfer this artifact to one of them, even if they already carry an artifact of power.
This could be fun depending on how many. I don't play Pestilence ever.
Plague Furnace?
Plague Furnace. Yeah, if you have multiple Plague Furnaces, it could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is that like the furnace is treated as a mount, so you're not re-rolling any of the furnace's attacks.
Boo.
And then Liber Bubonicus, the bearer, can use the Plague Pair ability from the Plague Priest War Scroll. If the bearer is a Plague Priest, then it can use the Plague Prayer ability twice in your hero phase.
It's probably the one you're taking.
Yeah. Although, I've got to say, they're still all bad.
Yeah.
Then let's just take a quick look at our battalions. So Pestilence is a mega battalion. Yay.
It's the only one that got it, really. Well, I guess.
Yeah. There's no way this is happening in 2,000 points.
No. I tried just for fun. I was like, nope, not happening.
Yeah. All right. But we have 3 for Clan Pestilence. The Congregation of Filth, Plague Priest on a Plague Furnace, and 2 units of Plague Monks. So this is doable. Roll a die each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to Plague Monks. On a 6, that wound or mortal wound is negated. So 6 up ward save on all of your Plague Monks.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth the extra artifact and command trait, or actual artifact and command point.
Yep. That's probably what you're going to take.
Foul Rain Congregation, Plague Priest, and 3 Plague Claw catapults. Add 1 to wound rolls for attack made by missile weapons.
So this thing could actually do damage and can be buffed up. And it's just a vague recollection. I wish I read it over again. But it can deal out a lot of damage. It can be really, really good. But the thing is, it's almost all of your points.
Yeah. It's a lot of points to do this. And you can Vigor Dust inject 1 of the Plague Claws.
Yep.
But Plague Claw catapults are just not that good. And the last one, a Plague Priest on Plague Furnace and 2 units of Plague Censer Bearers. And you can reroll the dice to determine if any unit suffers mortal wounds when you use the Poisonous Fumes ability. If the enemy unit's within 3 inches of the unit from this battalion. My God, my dog is going to drive me crazy. The poor cat is just sitting there on top of the cat tree, terrified.
They don't get along?
I don't know how to put it. It's not that they don't get along. It's that the dog wants to play and the cat wants nothing to do with the dog.
There you go. Page 102.
So,
2, right?
What's that?
Don't you want page 102 with the Vermin Lord Corruptor?
Oh, yeah. That is the place that I should begin, is the Vermin Lord Corruptor. Hey, I went right to the page. So he gets 10 attacks on 3s and 3s, which is pretty good.
Yep, I like it.
And he can He has a command ability that can re-roll hit rolls for Clan Pestilence, so that's pretty strong as well.
Yeah.
And his spell's the Dreaded Plague, which is the same as Plague, except it's on 4-ups instead of 5-ups. So if you have a horde of 1 wound models, he's killing half of them.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's neat.
He's got some, his abilities are fun. The Plague Reapers are fun. Mortal Wounds from that, as well as his Dreaded Plague. He does Mortal Wounds on a 4-up for any enemy units within 1 inch of him. So once he gets into combat, he's doing more Mortal Wounds. He can really stack Mortal Wounds.
Yep. Yeah. For all of his 6s to hit, he does Mortal Wounds.
Yep.
So.
Be fun.
Yeah. Plague Priest. Let's see. He's got Plague Prayers, Disease. If the prayer is answered, pick a unit within 13 inches of the model, roll 1 die for each model in that unit. For each 6, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So it's a really weak plague. And it's within 13 inches. Then Pestilence. If this prayer is answered, pick a point on the battlefield that's within 13 inches of this model. Roll a die for each unit within 3 inches of that point. On a 4+, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and the prayer has no effect on Clan Pestilence. So he's just throwing around mortal wounds.
It's kind of see a theme unveiling here with Clan Pestilence.
Yes. It's almost like they like to throw around a lot of mortal wounds. Frenzied Assault, you can add 1 to the attack's characteristic of his melee weapons if he charges. I'm not sure why you're charging with this guy.
Do not charge.
Then Poisonous Fumes at the end of the combat phase. Roll a die for each unit within 3 inches of the units with his ability. On a 4+, the roll. The unit being rolled for suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, it suffers D3 mortal wounds instead of 1, and it has no effect on Clan Pestilence.
Cute. Fun ability. Fun. Lots of mortal wounds, potentially.
Yep. Did I skip over the more important one?
Nope, that's where it starts.
Huh.
Plague Priest, yep. Then Plague Claw, then Plague Priest, then Plague Furnace.
Okay. I expected the Plague Priest on Plague Furnace to be sooner. Plague Claw. 6 to 31 inch range, 3s and 3s, rend 2d6 damage. 1 shot. 2d6 if it's starting a unit that has 10 or more models. I mean, this is literally very hit or miss.
Yeah, but you can put it out of line of sight, which is nice. It's got a really good range.
Yeah.
I love Hideous Death. Subtract 1 from bravery characteristic of a unit targeted by any Plague Claw catapults to the end of the turn. So that just means target. You don't have to roll anything. Just target them.
Yep. Interesting.
It's just fun that it's just like, I'm targeting them, but then I'm not going to do shit.
Yeah. So the Plague Priest on Plague Furnace. This one's interesting. He has the same Battle Shock immunity bubble as the Grey Seer on Screaming Bell.
Altar of the Horned Rat.
Yep. The important prayer that he has, you can add 1 to the attack's characteristic of melee weapons of a Clan Pestilence unit wholly within 13 inches of him.
Yep.
And then his other one is you can reroll wound rolls for a Clan Pestilence unit. Definitely want the +1 attack for sure.
Yeah.
This thing is also pretty good in melee.
Pretty good in melee.
Yeah, you can You can charge it into things and do a lot of damage.
6-inch move sucks.
Yes. Yes, it does.
And it's pushed into battle, too, so it needs to be surrounded by Skaven Tide models.
Yep.
I feel like there should be some, like, pushed into battle, like, for every over 10 models within blah, 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 plus add +1 to this thing's movement.
Something like that. Yeah. So this is like, if you're going heavy Pestilence, this is like a must include.
Yep.
Just to keep stacking on more and more attacks.
More
attacky. And this thing's kind of a beat stick in its own right.
Yep.
Then, of course, Plague Monks. These guys are just blenders. This war scroll is no longer valid.
I was just looking at it. I was like,
This is the old war scroll. I don't have the other one prepared. But they're good.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah. Plague Sensor Bearers. These guys are like bad storm vermin. You can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by this unit when they're wholly within 18 inches of a Plague Monk unit. In addition, you can reroll Battle Shock tests while it's wholly within 18 inches of Plague Monks. At the end of the combat phase, roll 1 die for each unit within 3 inches of any units with this ability. On a 4+, the unit being rolled for suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, it's a D3. And add 1 to the attack's characteristic of its melee weapons if it made a charge move.
Could be not too bad. 4+ to hit. Trying to think about it. There's something I read that was good. Extra attack and charging. Does mortal wounds. Meh.
Yeah. They're so meh. Like, if they were battle line, maybe.
You know? Too. I'm not sure how many points they are.
Too many.
Yeah, there's 60 for 5 as opposed to 80 for 10 Clan Pestilence. Plague Monks.
Yeah. The real comparison is this is 60 for 5 compared to 100 for 10 Storm Vermin. And they're definitely not better than Storm Vermin.
They're not. But if you're going all Pestilence, I guess you can hang with them. I don't know.
So that's it. That is the whole book, clan by clan.
We had fun going through the clans. We had found that one fun command trait.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah. Warbringer just got better. So, yeah, it's been fun. Have any final thoughts before we close things out?
I can't wait to play Skaven again. That's my final thought. I can't wait to do this with the Warbringer immediately.
Yes. I will be painting mine up vigorously.
Yep. I might turn around and start converting Thanquol immediately. And then have an extra Gracier on foot.
Yeah. And it's a cool sculpt.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yep.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, I think that's going to be it for now. We will be signing off for the evening. Hopefully this has been helpful to everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, all of those things. And I'll talk to you all later.